So, Laurie, are you there?
I'm there.
You're there. Perfect.
You're right. Hello. How are you? How are you? I just finished a session on Zoom, not on Zoom, but a little webinar on solid wit. And and we were reading. I was reading with Lucinda Childs, the dancer. She was taking the voice of an interviewer, and I was taking the voice of Saul, and we were reading some beautiful text. I mean, it's an interview in which he's talking about the logic of his wall drawings, and
I love the wall drawings.
Oh, they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful.
And that collection all together, the mass smoker, is something amazing.
Yeah.
To see them all in one place, so then you really understand the whole story.
Yeah, and I was telling that because I was his student, and I was looking at some of his things with numbers, some of his numbers pieces, and I said, that looks like music, and he said, make some. So that's why I made a quartet for him. And I never finished it, but I mean, I recorded it several times, but it was never good enough to put out for some reason. It was never, I couldn't get it. And it's a beautiful piece of music. It really is beautiful, but I just couldn't capture it.
But did you make it violin or make it for other instruments?
It's a quartet for, cello, viola, 2 violins. And we played it at Masmoka in the installation. And that was amazing because I do not believe in ghosts, but I have seen 3 ghosts, but I don't believe in ghosts. And when we were playing that quartet, Saul arrived, and I was not prepared for that. That was the last thing on my mind. Suddenly he was there, completely, 100% there, with his like beaming sort of round face, like Buddha face. And I was so shocked. But anyway.
This is amazing.
Something about numbers and music makes the wall between the living and the dead more porous somehow, maybe. But anyway.
Number between the living and the dead. Well, music is definitely the living, and numbers are the dead, or the other way around.
Well, no, I mean, I think that it's the that maybe is what can make the wall more porous, is numbers and music. They can maybe pass through and communicate and make it easier for us to feel energy in different ways than we normally would. I guess is how I would explain it. But like I said, I don't believe in ghosts,
except when they come.
Except when they come, and then they're there. You forget about it. Your rational mind is just like, what? But then your experiential part, and of course, that's the thing that you want to train, is like to trust. That's why we have instincts. That's why we have them, is they can show you things that your rational mind rebels against, and so it's taken me all my life to even start to trust them more than I used to.
To trust your instincts.
Yeah. Really trust them. Really trust them. Not just follow them for a while for a lark, but think, okay, what am I hearing? That's really, because we shape everything before we even receive it, So we miss a million frequencies of light and sound and all kinds of things. We're not very tuned into a lot of things.
What can you do with March? What what have you done once your life, everybody's life stopped? What have you decided to do?
I didn't decide.
What? Yeah.
I just started raking. I came from Australia, and I was going back to the city, but I decided to go to a place 90 miles from New York, where I have a place, and it was being fixed up. It wasn't finished, so but I went there anyway, and I decided not to decide what to do because my whole life is deciding what to do next
Yes.
and going from one plan to another. And the miracle of this, for many people, me included, is well, first of all, you have the whole planet is suddenly instant Buddhists.
Yeah.
There,
We have.
there's no such thing as certainty.
Yes.
No such thing. Anybody who says something with certainty, it's absolute bullshit. It's like they're making it up. so I could never have imagined the majesty of this moment. That the entire planet, which just makes me laugh to think of it. The entire planet stopped. Did you never saw this coming? Did anyone see this coming?
I could see. I mean, I was in Rome just a few days before.
Right.
And I had this funny feeling because I was at Fontana di Trevi, and suddenly it felt extremely empty. And Fontana di Trevi is always crowded. It was a beautiful winter day, not so cold, nice. And then I was walking around Rome, and I felt there's something in the air because everything is starting to go quiet.
What
and
day?
it was like a week before the whole world shut down. But Italy was already shutting down. But Rome was not yet shut down. Milan was.
Early March.
Yeah, late February, early March.
Late February.
Yes. So it felt, I could see it coming. I could see that, this is not going to happen in China and in Italy alone. There's no way. I mean, this is going to spread, and it's going to spread very fast. And, but I didn't see the scale of it. And I didn't see the dramatic effects that it will have on people's lives. But honestly, I feel that the pandemic is less of an opportunity than the stop, the slowness, the moment stillness. This is really the thing. I think this is what we didn't expect and what we were not prepared for. We can always figure out ways of fighting something, but when you are entitled just to have time and stop, and there's nothing you can do. Other people can do things, but there's nothing you can do. You have to deal with that stillness and let the time pass by and understand. And it's so interesting because I haven't seen, in my house, I hear airplanes from time to time, and I haven't heard airplanes for months, but I've been seeing stars, and I have been seeing birds, lots of birds, and I've been seeing monkeys go around from time to time. These things start happening because there's, we are sort of, how do you say, we are permeable to other species now because we allow ourselves to have the time to deal with this. So this has become quite inspiring for me in all aspects. Have you been dreaming a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Like crazy, right? Every day.
Balzacian dreams, just
Yes.
complicated. And it's mostly, it will feature a friend who's making something just colossal, like crazy. And I will see future versions of people in it too. So there would be, a couple of nights ago, it was a friend who had decided was going to build massive underwater sculptures, and his son, who's 6, was then 15, and his girlfriend was speaking only Icelandic. She speaks English. It's just kind of seismic changes in people, but things that you could imagine them doing anyway, but
Yeah.
very active, making big things. What about your dreams?
I've been having amazing dreams every night, and very narrative, very complicated as well.
Yeah.
And the thing I've noticed is that we remember the dreams.
Yeah.
Past that you have dreams, but then in the morning you don't remember them anymore. You remember them, and they come back.
Yeah.
And I've been talking to a lot of people, and I know you've done so much work around dreams, and it's interesting to see that dreams have become a good 30% of our lives.
Yeah.
They're not like lost fragments. They are one dream, because every dream. And this has a fantastic effect in our psyche.
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
It's changed. I remembered one thing that you told me once that I never forgot, that you spent a lot of time in hospital in your childhood.
Yeah.
You've had probably in your memory a time of distancing from yourself, from the world, and dealing with health issues. Do you think this time of reclusion that you're facing now will have some effect in you, like that period you had in your childhood had in your creativity?
Of course. I mean, everything affects what you do and how you think. This is massive, and I don't know yet. I'm trying not to predict how it will affect me. I just, I mean, on the other hand, it does make me try to imagine or rethink my motives as well. When I bother to think about it, usually I just think, okay, I'm going to be like pure Ram Dass, be here now. I'm just going to not project, not plan, just notice what's going on at the very moment.
Microphone, Laurie.
What's that?
You have your hand over the microphone.
Oh, whoops. Okay. So I was saying that Ram Dass is very influential to me in terms of, especially in a moment like this, because he is the king of be here now, and this is a very important thing to be experiencing now, I think, because it's not possible to project and it doesn't seem important to reminisce. Although I spend some time missing my old life once in a while. The thing the teaching of Ram Dass that I realize I need to work on is not just be here now and appreciate that, because I can kind of do that in certain ways, but it's the knowledge that everything changes. Because when you're in a zone like this, which is a very still place, you don't see change happening so much. You see stillness happening.
Right. Which is a change from our perception, because we were
last life. Yeah.
From the last life.
Yeah, from the last life. But this sense that everything, that even in a state like this, everything is constantly morphing, even though you can't quite see it as clearly. You thought that in your old life everything's changing, but it was just kind of grinding along, like you were doing this and you were doing that and you were doing this and then you got that result, and and that's just a certain kind of loop-like repetitive thing, rather than this, which is genuine change, just genuinely throwing people into another very unfamiliar zone. Now, for some people, for lucky people like you who are getting it, and for me as well, there are so many people who, one of my friends was just telling me about one of her very good friends who just jumped out of a building. He just couldn't take the lack of contact. So for those who get a lot of their sense of self through reflection of other people, and they don't have that reflection, they don't have it bouncing back, they have no idea who they are anymore. None. And this guy was extremely social person. His whole life was about interaction and being with people, and this is how he I guess really identified himself. And when he realized that this isn't just, you know, a couple of months and then it's over, it's going to last for a while, he jumped out of the window. I also have 4 very good friends who died of COVID. So while I celebrate how wonderful it is, I'm very aware
Sure. That there's a lot of.
There's so much fear. There's so much pain.
Yes.
And while and I'm in my darker moments, just thinking, oh, I'm going to think back on this, and I'll think how naive I was. Mm-hmm. You know, before the whatever water wars, before the food wars, before the, you know, people don't live in a moment like this without very severe social economic consequences. So while it seems like paradise, I am also preparing myself for yet another reality, which will no, unfortunately, I don't know that for sure.
Sure.
If I knew that for sure, I would really, really be worried. It could have many other outcomes. Mm-hmm. It could have, the most positive I could imagine would be that everyone realizes, I don't need all that stuff. Hmm. I don't need to travel like that.
Go back to this.
Yeah, I can be just living like right around here. I don't have to run after ideas. I need to think more like what are my own thoughts, and where do they come from? And you can start using that as a way to travel. I have a really what a wonderful teacher he was. He was
who?
Well, he is a Buddhist teacher, mm-hmm. A Swiss guy called a Kinchino, and he teaches something called insight meditation technique. And this is like many mind training things. This is about recognizing thoughts as being very impermanent. So you focus on your breath, and you see a thought coming, you note it and you let it go. But you try to empty your mind and make it so that you can first of all calm yourself, but also it's a way to get to higher mind states. Anyway, one of the things that he recommended was instead of picturing your thoughts as clouds, he said, well, because he's Swiss, he said, picture your thoughts as little sailboats on a lake, you know, Swiss guy. And then more than that, he said, you can look at that boat as it goes away. Here comes another one. Just let it go. It's just a thought, you know. It's like maybe it's fear, maybe it's like anger, maybe it's joy. Just let those thoughts go. They're not you. Don't identify with them. Just let them go like that. But more than that, he said, you know, then see what's blowing the sails on these boats. What is it is it a cold winter wind or is it just a soft summer breeze? You know, mm-hmm. what is driving you? What's making you do anything? You know, so it's a study called Nature of Mind, and it is about trying to understand when, and the great thing about this moment is that you need to have stillness. You need to have things stop. So here we are, everything stopped. And this is the perfect time to do it. I'm not saying I'm doing that a lot, because I think to comfort myself, I do things that are a little simpler sometimes mm-hmm. than that, because this is extremely stressful in many ways. Even though you think, oh, this is great, I know all my appointments were canceled, beneath that is like, okay, all of your appointments were canceled, then why are you here? What are you doing?
What's your purpose?
What's your purpose? Yeah. If everything's canceled and you're not even talking to anybody, and who are you? And
big.
It's
big.
Yeah.
But in a sense, I have a feeling that the 21st century has just begun. Finally, and there's something new in the air. It's not the result. But on the other hand, we have so many things popping up in our minds, in the media and in the world today. Issues like, the George Floyd killing, racism, all the reactions, the political reactions in the world today, which are very much from this past world. This was not invented in the months. These things have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
They come up in a very strong way. I mean, there is this conflict between these two ideas of these two worlds. I mean, there is this world of contemplation, but then there is this very strong world of conflict and between people. But at the same time, we are isolated.
Yeah, it's amazing.
In other times, we would go out in the streets and start, banging ourselves. But then there is this thing: stay home, be quiet, calmness, stillness, and then there is abuse of power. There is all sorts of expressions. And this is going on not only in the US, but in Brazil and in many places.
Yeah, of course.
Hong Kong. And you see this popping in different places. There is this, which is hard to deal with at this moment, because you have to set one or another tone to your mind. How are you relating today?
Well, first of all, I do go to demonstrations. I do go to rallies. And there are small ones because I'm in a small town.
Oh, yeah.
But I do go, and because it's important to me to be with people in that way. And I do. Everyone is masked. Everyone is quite respectful, but it doesn't mean that we have to shut up. Yeah. Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's an way mask. So those have been really super powerful, and it's changed a lot of things also in the way that I'm doing other things. For example, we have a little breakfast club. It's some just 4 people, and we have breakfast together every week in New York. And it's musicians. So Arto is one of them, Ryuichi Sakamoto, me, and Ian. And so we decided, and since COVID, in the time of COVID, we meet virtually for breakfast, and we were thinking, okay, we have to do something with get out the vote, because for us, in the most practical level, we have to get the leading guy out. So as citizens and as musicians, we are thinking, what are we going to do? So we decided, okay, we'll try to do some event coordinating with Get Out the Vote to make sure that people who can vote do vote. Yeah, so we're sitting around, we're white people sitting around planning this thing, and we're looking at each other going, this is weird. Why? We're talking about Black Lives Matter, and we're all white people. And I used the example of a friend of mine who's here, and she said, I have to have a dinner party and I have to invite Black people. Now, where am I going to find them? Do you know any Black people? And I was like, awkward. That's really awkward, you know.
Yes.
But no,
That was a lot.
That's an awkwardness that's really important to, you know,
Address.
address and try it. So we're musicians, so we're working and playing with Black people all the time. American music is Black music, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we deeply appreciate that. But when we're talking and planning things, we're like, well, where are our Black friends? So we very, very self-consciously called up some people and said, will you help us plan this? We realized that what it needs to be planned by Black and white people. Sure. We need your help. So please help us. Yeah. And they were like, okay, we will. Mm-hmm. And it was a little awkward for them too, but it didn't last long. The awkwardness didn't last long at all. We just realized, okay, how can we do this? This is how it's going to be now. We can't, you know, just go to marches and talk about stuff. We have to do it. So this is very exciting to me. And this is you know, you can live in a dream state for a while and it's great. And I deeply appreciate it. But for us, it's very important to make sure that we are not asleep while other things happen. And that if we can't change it, at least we can try to change it. I have a friend who is has a 5-year-old boy, and when he was told that there's a virus, coronavirus, he didn't understand the word virus. He didn't know the word virus, so he thought everyone was talking about the corona pirates. So he was like so inspired. He was like, everyone around the world is fighting the corona pirates and wearing masks to fight the pirates and defeat the pirates. And so I see it as something that we need to be active about and not fall into our dream states, you know. Yeah. And that that it's because that kind of plays into the plans of those who might want to stay in power a little too long. Like, okay, you can't go outside. And you know that wall we were building on the southern border, that wasn't to keep them out. That's you in, you know? Yeah. And yeah. And we suddenly realized this is gone way beyond what anyone could ever have dreamed. Yes. Would happen in this country. So far beyond. And is it reparable? Some of it not for a long time. It's now law. Some of this idiocy is actually law. So I think many of us feel, while we feel that the beauty and the relief of the merry-go-round that has stopped, we also look around and going, who's tinkering with the motor while we're all just happily relieved that we're off the treadmill?
Yes.
So it's a big thing here. People.
There is a change of context. You know, all your life with America being the leader of the world.
Yeah.
Know, ever since you were born, and suddenly, America has been segregated. You know, if you're American, you cannot really travel anywhere. You are not admired anymore in the country. No. You know, you are a bad example for the environment. You're a bad example for health. You're a bad example for the economy. You're a bad example for almost anything, for social justice and anything. How do you feel? I mean, you've lived this all. I mean, how do you feel this change of being the leader to being someone that is segregated as a country?
No, I never felt rah rah, America's number one in the world. I never thought that for 1 second, not for 1 second. So I don't feel like we had a big fall. I don't think that we're, so I still think that there is, that a lot of this is also perception, and that it was, some kind of weird PR thing, because I think that I would still say the same thing, basic things about Americans that I would have 40 years ago or 50 years ago, that Americans are good-hearted. I would say that, and basically good-hearted, and that every country has its ups and downs and is perceived in different ways. We have a horrible president now, but it is not, and it brings out really bad things in rather large number of our populace, but it's not the majority of people. It is not, and I think there's a lot of like rating things of like the number one, and like competitive things going on, which are important in some ways. I mean, we are really have a government that's messed up in terms of especially ecology, more than anything else. That.
Sure. But there's funny because if you we've been hearing for the last decades that the goals of the environmental goals were unachievable, and they were suddenly achieved in a matter of days. What was unachievable in negotiation and all globally, global emissions and all of that. Suddenly, what was impossible became very real, really possible. Just like something else, like all the digital world and the technologies around virtual and what we're doing here. They've been around for quite some time, but they've always been on, and suddenly
right?
On the sides, like parallel. They're there, we deal with it, and now it seems like all we have is that. Suddenly life or reality became this other thing. That was, so there is this paradigm shift, real shift from our perception of how we can deal with change.
And I think there'll be more paradigm shifts too. What if this system breaks? What if we cannot do this? Then we will see a real paradigm shift. And I have a feeling that we're in for some very big shifts. This is just us like chatting about things on the systems that we've always had going for us, and we just get our food delivered, and now we can walk in nature more, and it's quieter. That's things will change and change and change and change, and in terms of America and what's happening here, I'm very encouraged about it recently, because, for example, in my little town, super white town, so many people came out for the demonstrations and keep coming out. And I'm talking about guys who show up in their Modest pants, shorts, dark glasses, their Ferrari, and they come to a demonstration. They have never, ever come to a rally in their lives before. Never. But they bother to show up. They can see that this is not right. What happened to George Floyd, they're just like, no way. And they show up at a rally. So that's the shift that is exciting to me. That's the one where I'm like, wow. We always knew that Trump was just like out of his mind. I don't know how that happened. I do know how it happened. It's all rigged. The whole election is rigged. And the next one probably will be too, and that's how he got into power, and that's what we let happen. But this was not a majority choice. So I'm very aware of that, that this is, and I don't think, and I know he has supporters and that they are who they are, but it's not the majority. So that the shift for me is not the fall of America. America fell in the 80s for me. I just, how it was perceived in the rest of the world was not, well, it was interesting to me, but not very, it had so much to do with myth. It was just like the French version of Route 66 or something, like some version of the American West, or some very romantic thing that never existed. It never existed. It was always all a fiction anyway. It was just a Hollywood fiction anyway, this worship of America, and it was crazy anyway. Nobody in America thought that was reality, so I think so when it falls, like it fell a long time ago, it's like.
Once you said to me that your work alternates between more personal and more political, based on what's going on in the world. But this is a unique time.
Yeah, it is.
Both.
Yeah, it is. Well, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Well, I have a number of things that I'm writing, and I don't yet know how to characterize it. I try not to say, oh, this is going to be my political era. I just try to think, what do I really want to say now? If anything, maybe nothing, maybe just stop saying things for a while and pontificating or whatever. So,
Ennio Morricone just died yesterday. You remember that? Ennio Morricone?
Yeah.
And he always remembered about the music was in his silence.
Music was what?
Was in the silence.
Yes.
So it may be to deal with that silence.
Yeah, I think every musician would agree that there's no note without the silence between them. So it's where you put them in space, and there's a lot of space around the notes now. So I am interested in stuff that's slow and things that are let me breathe in a different way. I was talking to someone today who is saying, okay, well, he's from a Buddhist group, and he said, okay, I want to talk to you about ethics. What is the basis of your ethics? And let's go back to your childhood. And I was like, no, do not psychoanalyze me, please. I mean, just, but of course, every morning I wake up every single morning in a state of, I would have to say despair, absolute despair, thinking like, well, for all the reasons that we know. And it takes me maybe an hour, because I'll never get up feeling that. And I will just stay there until I have been able to change my mind and my feelings. I don't ever get out of bed with a feeling of despair. Mm-hmm. I am, and the reason I don't is because I have heroes, and I think of my heroes, and I think of what my heroes do. This is why we have heroes. This is why I have heroes. And I think, okay, I'm not alone here. What would different? And I just go through the list of people that I really admire, and I think, what would he do? What would she do? And then I get inspiration from that, and then I get up in a good mood, yes, can be such a enjoyable day. I can do something like really different. I can break the habits that I have. I can, instead of going to get a cup of coffee, I can go out to the road and run as fast as I can down the road. And you realize that you get into real ruts, real mental patterns that you feel you can't break, and then you realize everything's broken. Might as well break your pattern.
Yeah.
The whole thing is broken. It all broke.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't try to put the pieces together. They're not going to fit. Break it more,
Yeah.
and see how it could feel to be free, and I think, of course, freedom is so terrifying to most people that they want nothing to do with it, so have to.
I was going to ask you something, because I think that we lost our maps, our roadmaps to deal with the world. I mean, all our previous knowledge doesn't really apply to this new concept. And maybe the concept of improvisation may be a very powerful tool to navigate into the
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
A lot about
improv. Yeah, you have to. Because if you try to make your patterns work, you're going to be. First of all, you don't have a job to go to, so get up and go to work. So
yeah, and the patterns, the way, the rhythms, the thing that's used in the past as your library, they don't really apply anymore. So you have to deal with the ability that musicians like you really have into dealing with play by ear. Let's improvise together and try to find and try to invent. Not even find, trying to invent new rhythm,
or just do a new thing. Do something that you haven't done before.
That's what I've been doing. Something I haven't been doing before.
Yeah.
And everything that I did about that actually proved to be very rewarding, because it showed how much you've lost in the past for not exploring those areas.
So with you, what is that?
Oh, I've done many things. I mean, from psychotropics to navigating into the wilderness to eating patterns, eating habits, to exposing myself to the sun. In ways that I didn't realize the sun was always an extremely powerful thing.
Yeah.
And I realized that we spend very little time giving our body the sun. And that is a fantastic source of cure for everything else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how do you do that? Do you just take a walk in the sun, or what do you do?
Pool in my house here, and but I also take a walk in the sun. But I stay in the sun. And I stay more outside, more. Many things, and many other experiments, and these have been pattern breaking, and they have helped me a lot deal with this new reality.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you found the most successful, that gave you the most happiness?
Well, I bought a new dog. That's for one thing.
A new dog.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Dog. So I didn't want to say that. But that's an important thing. But I've also given time to people that have always been around, and I haven't given enough time to listen to them.
Yeah.
So this is also important, and I also feel much better not having to be so much a slave of planning.
Yeah, because you're a planner.
Yeah, I'm a planner all the time.
Yeah.
And with time. And so now I just sit and wait until things come to to reality, and I deal with it. I know it's a unique position because most people have to deal with reality on a daily basis, and this is not an easy thing to say in the world. And I think there's a lot of pain, as you said, but I don't believe that the pain will not come with some sort of wisdom with it.
Yeah.
I think even this pain, because when you mentioned your friend that jumped from the window, I realized that what he has discovered is that he had a problem before.
Yeah.
You know, and what's coming out to us is that most of the problems we have been hiding by moving so fast are now very stable.
You can't ignore them.
You can't ignore them.
Yeah.
So Laurie, it's been so good. Such a nice conversation.
Yeah. It is nice.
It's a lovely thing. And so great to see you. I hope that this whole situation fix up and we can do our concerts in Chile and the installations and everything.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We are very excited. I mean, South America and North America. I mean, the Americas are in a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we think that this will clear out and we're going to come to Chile next year and do something new. I mean, everything we planned might become obsolete by then.
That's true. And then we improvise more. I mean, I'm really planning not to go back to my life as it was, and I hope it's not the kind of thing that we always say here. If so and so gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. Yeah, you know, and nobody ever moves to Canada, but we keep saying we will. Like if Trump's reelected, I'm moving to Canada. But I think that because of the effect of this and the length of it, you know, and it's not, this is going to be for a while, I think.
Yes.
That it's not like fall will come and it will be fine. And, you know, most everything is canceled for a year for me. You know, for all music things, immediately we're 1 year, boom. And museums are different. They're now creeping to be open. Schools, which I think is a terrible mistake, are going to open, and I think it's going to cause a huge amount of suffering. I just got so many petitions today saying, write to your congressman saying, don't open the schools. I was supposed to do some work in universities, and now they're doing a kind of half and half. They say freshmen can come for the fall and seniors can come for the spring, but no sophomores, no juniors. They're out. And only 40% of those people, and the rest is all online. Yeah. So this is something that I feel is a complete disaster. It's not something that we should change because, I mean, we have to get beyond this level of contagion. We really do. So, but learning this way on Zoom is taking a huge toll on people.
Oh yes, it's heavy, it's complicated.